The year 2024 stands as a crossroads for humanity, where the decisions we make will shape the contours of our shared future. Over the last few years, the world has been shaken up by a global pandemic, extreme weather events linked to the deepening of the climate crisis, rising food insecurity, global economic and financial uncertainty, blatant violations of the UN Charter and international law, continuation and even escalation of prolonged conflicts and the emergence of new ones, as well as, yes, disrespect for human rights and attacks against gender equality. At the same time, it became clear that the achievement of Agenda 2030 and its sustainable development goals is lagging far behind its targets. Our strategic vision must be one of unity, resilience, and a shared commitment to the betterment of the people. First, let us acknowledge the complex and interwoven crises that demand our immediate attention. The ongoing climate emergency continues to wreak havoc across our planet, with record heat waves, devastating floods, and raging wildfires becoming distressingly common. The path forward requires bold, collective action that transcends borders and politics. We must redouble our efforts to transition to a sustainable, low-carbon global economy and support the nations and communities most vulnerable to climate impacts. For us, the developed world, we should lead the way towards a sustainable future and learn how to live with less but better, and simultaneously support those who are lagging behind. The triple crisis of climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution presents a major security, political, and socioeconomic challenge for the international community as a whole. The growing number and the scope of natural disasters, as well as extreme and rapidly changing weather patterns everywhere across the globe, must be a wake-up call to us all that we need to step up our climate action. We need to make sure that we leave the world a better place for future generations. Implementing the right to a safe, clean, healthy, and sustainable environment is therefore of key importance. Human rights and dignity must be placed at the center of any measures to tackle the environmental crisis. Furthermore, the world today faces an unprecedented water crisis. Competition for water is increasing as water scarcity becomes an ever-increasing cause of conflict. Slovenia has been calling for accelerated action on water-related challenges globally, emphasizing the relevance of water for human development, preservation of ecosystem, climate resilience, and peace and security. Being a strong believer in the value of transboundary water cooperation, we are a member of the Transboundary Water Cooperation Coalition. We will host the 10th meeting of the parties to the UN Water Convention this October in Ljubljana and take over the chairmanship of the convention for the next 3 years. The steep increase in global food insecurity, which threatens to destabilize further already fragile societies and to exacerbate armed conflicts, leading to regional and global instability, should be of great concern to us all. Famine, ladies and gentlemen, has no place in the 21st century. Slovenia is a strong supporter of the international efforts against famine and is highly committed to contributing to global food security. I'm also very worried about the alarming escalation of geopolitical tensions in the world. In many regions, the specter of conflict looms large. The return of great power rivalry, complete with the proliferation of advanced military technologies, has increased the risks of misunderstandings and miscalculations. We must reaffirm our commitment to diplomacy and the principles of international law and work tirelessly to resolve disputes through dialogue, rather than force. The United Nations, with its unique legitimacy, remains an indispensable forum for these efforts. The world today is not the same as the world in 1945, when the United Nations Charter was adopted. Therefore, we need to strengthen and upgrade global governance and adapt multilateral institutions, including financial ones. But let me be clear, the multilateral system rooted in the United Nations Charter must remain the cornerstone. We need to work on rebuilding trust, strengthening global cooperation and solidarity. Slovenia is currently serving its term in the UN Security Council. One of the motivations for our candidature to serve on the Security Council was precisely to improve the challenged state of affairs in the UN. For that, we need to work in concert with other states, including small ones. We must listen to all voices, not only the voices of big and influential international states and other actors. In the first 8 months of the UN Security Council membership, Slovenia has followed its commitments from the campaign to be an active, open, transparent, and constructive member. We have focused on efforts to bridge the polarization in the Council and to help move the process in the Council forward. There is a growing need for the international community to overcome existing geopolitical divides and to address new threats and challenges to international peace and security, as well as to be able to effectively respond to humanitarian disasters, as we are witnessing in Palestine, Sudan, Ukraine, and elsewhere. In the words of Secretary General Antonio Guterres, peace is more than a noble vision. It's a rallying cry and a call to action, and it is humanity's greatest responsibility. The growing number of conflicts and their increasing cruelty continues to astound me. For 2.5 years, Ukrainian people have been courageously fighting for freedom and independence. For 2.5 years, Russia has blatantly violating all norms and principles that we agreed on together to make the world a better and safer place. But as long as the UN Charter and international law are being ruthlessly trampled, as long as civilians are suffering and towns are being reduced to piles of rubble, we will not tire of condemning the Russian aggression and upholding the universal principles that guide us all. I have recently been in Ukraine. It broke my heart to see and hear about so many lives being lost, families being torn apart, and childhoods being destroyed forever. But it is not only Ukrainian people who suffer because of this senseless war. Even though the war is raging on European soil, it is also not only a European matter. Its repercussions have been felt across the globe. Food insecurity has put the lives of millions in danger. So have the attacks on and around nuclear facilities in Ukraine. Yes, we all want peace, but let us be clear. While there are two warring parties, Russia is the aggressor and Ukraine is the victim. It is the right of Ukrainian people to defend their homeland, and it is our collective duty to support them and protect the world based on law rather than force. That is why Slovenia will continue to stand by Ukraine and its people for as long as it takes. Slovenia will also continue to support the efforts towards just and lasting peace. We know peace cannot be achieved without the involvement of and dialogue between both parties. However, any peace negotiations must be grounded on the UN Charter and international law. It is up to Ukraine, the victim, to decide when and under what condition this will happen. And it is up to Russia to demonstrate genuine willingness and engage in good faith. Bombing Ukrainian cities every day proves the exact opposite. As a staunch supporter of international law, I would like to underline one more point which is important for my country. There cannot be peace unless justice is served. Slovenia will spare no efforts in pursuing full accountability for the long lists of atrocities and other international crimes committed in and against Ukraine. With equal horror as in Ukraine, we observe the violations of international humanitarian law in Gaza. Israeli hostages are still held captive. Palestinian women and children are dying every day in their hundreds. This has now become the world's deadliest conflict in 2024, and the most dangerous place for civilians. A full 88% of its population is exposed to conflict. Targeting civilians is not a legitimate military strategy under any circumstances. Hostages must return to their families safe and unharmed. A ceasefire must be put into effect. Civilians must be allowed immediate and safe access to humanitarian assistance. As we work to avert a larger regional war, it is essential to address the suffering in Gaza and pursue a two-state solution, the only viable path to lasting peace. Slovenia's recognition of Palestine underscores the importance of this goal. Additionally, empowering the Palestinian Authority with the necessary reforms and resources is crucial for governance and stability. However, we cannot view global security solely through the lens of state-to-state relations. The rise of non-state actors, cyber threats, applications of artificial intelligence for military purposes, and the weaponization of misinformation and disinformation have added layers of complexity to global peace and stability. In this digital age, the integrity of our information space is as crucial as the security of our borders. We must forge new international norms and agreements to safeguard cyberspace, while also fostering greater cooperation in the fight against terrorism and organized crime. The economic landscape is equally fraught with challenges. The global economy is navigating turbulent waters, with inequality widening both within and between nations. The COVID-19 pandemic, while no longer in its acute phase, has left a lasting legacy of disruption. Millions of people remain unemployed, and many more face precarious futures. We must rebuild our economies in ways that are inclusive and sustainable, ensuring that the benefits of growth are shared by all. This requires not only sound economic policies, but also a renewed commitment to social justice and human rights. The future is not fixed. Although it drives uncertainty in the short term, it also allows room for hope. Alongside global risks and the era-defining changes underway lie unique opportunities to rebuild trust, optimism, and resilience in our institutions and societies. This is why I highly value occasions such as the Bled Strategic Forum, since they enable us not just to talk to each other, but to listen to each other and exchange ideas on how to tackle the global challenges I mentioned before. The challenges we face, whether they are environmental, geopolitical, economic, or technological, are global in nature, and they require global solutions. We must reaffirm our commitment to multilateralism, strengthen our international institutions, and foster a spirit of cooperation that transcends narrow national interests. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, let us remember that the ultimate goal of our efforts is to create a world where all people can live in peace dignity, and prosperity. And dear guests, this is not an idealistic aspiration. It is a practical necessity. In an age of unprecedented global challenges, our fates are more intertwined than ever before. We must act with the urgency that this moment demands, guided by the principles of justice, equality, and above all, mutual respect. Together we can build a future that is worthy of our highest aspiration, a future where humanity's potential is fully realized, and when the world's most pressing challenges are met with resolve, creativity, and compassion. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you all for coming to my country. I wish you are going to enjoy your stay in Bled, in Slovenia, and I wish you to have many fruitful conversations, and let us try to do something for the better world together. Only together this is possible. I firmly believe in that. Thank you very much.